So I have a starter file here. It's 1080 by 1080. It's a perfect square. It's kind of like a social media post. And I have a box, and then I just have another box that has a invisible fill but a border. So it's just two boxes. Real simple stuff you've learned to make with your shapes and your borders and your fill. But what if I want to add text? What if this is something that's free and I want to have a sale? Up here is a text tool. It has the big letter T on it. If you hold your mouse over it, it gives you a little video of how to use it. But I'm going to show you how to use it just the same. So if you click on the text tool and then you tap in the middle of the screen, it kind of shows you that it's ready to type something. So I'm going to type free. But I can't see it because first of all, it's black and it's on a black square. So I need to zoom in on it a little bit, which allows me to see it. And then I can double click on it. And of course, just like everything else, everything's over here on the right hand side. So if I want to change its color to yellow, now I can see the yellow font on the black background. But everything else I want to change is over here as well. So as long as it's highlighted, I can change it to bold if I want to, semi-bold. There's actually a bold, and then there's a bolder. So you can make something bolder or bigger, whatever you need to do. Of course, here's the size. I'm just going to jump that up to 72. I can hand type in bigger numbers if I want to. So if it's 72 is not big enough, I can hand type that in. Here are your font families if you want to change the font to something a little bit more fun. I'm going to zoom back out now because now it's bigger. So the text isn't placed where I want it to be. I want it to be in the center. So I'm going to move this. But I love how as I move it, you have grid lines that pop up, these pink lines that show you that it's now where I let go of my mouse, it'll be centered in the middle of the screen. So those guidelines help me know that I can move it around, and I can definitely it helps me find the middle of my screen there. So now I just dropped that in the middle there. But let's take a look at some more of this. If I double click on this again, just to point out some things, I can rotate this so I can angle it, nudge it. Of course, I can do that similarly. Let me put that back to 0. I can do the same thing. If I move my mouse, I get that half circle there, and then I can spin it. I can use this tool to spin it. I can make it larger this way as well. But then I don't have precise dimensions. Now I have precise dimensions. I can take this and drag it up and down. I'm going to undo. So all these things do something as well. I'm also interested in showing you I can add a border to this. So maybe I want an orange outline around the text and I want it thicker than 1. So now I have an outline around it. I'm going to change this black square. I'm going to just change that to a gray for now. There's some other properties I'm interested in showing you. So I clicked back on free and whoop, I zoomed that away. On the rollout here on the right hand side, I want to experiment with some of these settings. So if I click on blur and just take a look at what blur does, if I need to blur something out, of course that's what that would do. So I'm going to undo. I don't want it to blur anything out. I'm just experimenting with the settings. And I'm going to collapse that. I don't want any blur. Maybe I want to look at the drop shadow. And so the drop shadow, I can also mess with see how it's adding a shadow towards the X? And I need the shadow to go down a little bit, so I'm going to do the Y. So now it has a drop shadow behind it. I can change the opacity, I can change the color, I can even change how the blur looks behind it. And I'm happy with the drop shadow, so I'm going to keep that. But it added 2 drop shadows. I'm going to delete the second drop shadow that I added, but it now has the settings that I have here for the drop shadow. Maybe I want to experiment with other things here, adjust the color. So just you can see what it's doing by just messing with the brightness of it. Now it's like really bright and stand out as free. I'm going to delete that. We're just experimenting in an inner shadow just to see what that does. I can experiment with that to see what that does as well. And you can see a shadow that's coming here from the x-axis off to to the left, and now it's coming down from the top. I don't love the inner shadow, so I'm going to delete that as well. But just experiment with some of these settings. You can mess with text, you can make it bigger, you can rotate it, you can change colors, you can add font properties, you can center text. All of the stuff that you would do in any other program you can do here. It all happens on the right hand side.